So instead of castling short and castling into the attack, white is much better off just going for queenside castling, d3, developing his bishop, and black's going to have a lot harder time generating any attack against this. Our only trump, our only advantage is going to be our control of the d-file. Also, we have not committed our king, so we can think about, if he castles on the queen side, maybe we want to castle on the king side and then push these pawns for attack. There's another idea. So that covers knight c3. What else can white play? Well, believe it or not, I've had trouble finding anything conclusive against f3. Now, we're really taught not to play this kind of move because it opens up a lot of diagonals to the king. But here, surprisingly, it's not that bad. If we play our bishop c5 move, well, he can immediately play pawn to c3 and then pawn to d4 and have a very nice pawn structure. And we really don't want to jump the gun and sacrifice our knight, hoping for a cheap shot with pawn takes knight. And then queen h4, which would be winning for black. Actually, it's not even winning, because here, yeah, we have a double attack, but he has one of his own with a pin. So this whole idea doesn't work. You can also play queen pin immediately and win the knight, which is probably even better. So against f3 we have to be a little bit more cautious and probably just develop naturally bishop d6, and we're going to be admitting that we're down a pawn when white's pawns start piling through the center. And this is one of the scary positions in the Taylor Gambit, I would say, is that here I'm not confident in black's chances if white plays this correctly. Bishop g5, this looks like a very good position for white in my opinion. So that's one to watch out for, is f3. Any good lines against that in the comment section would be good. Well, our main line, final variation, is going to be d3. And here, bishop c5 is a good move. So white's best move is to be cautious and play bishop e2, where, for instance, if we play naturally, we're really not going to get much of anything at all, especially if he knows about pawn structure chess, how to build his position slowly but surely, and all of a sudden we're just going to be down a pawn without much to show for it. So against bishop e2, I think we should shoot for castling long with bishop e6. And queen d7. If he starts the pawn storm, we'll just castle into it and hope for the best. But truthfully, this is a good position for white. One last ditch hope for black, instead of bishop e6, would be to play h5. Just to try to mix things up on the king side. Another interesting move. I can't say that I like it too much though, if white knows what he's doing. Just a suggestion. So I can honestly tell you that this variation with bishop e2 is probably the reason I quit playing this with black in my early days. I think it's the refutation. It's just simple development. However, here's the good news. Black, white has a lot of ways to go wrong in this position. It's a good trap defense. He has to still really be careful about this lingering knight g4 idea. And bishop e3 is a move that it doesn't lose the game, but it isn't exactly the best move in the world. We can play bishop takes. and immediately target the weakness, that pawn. And let's say he protects it with queen d2. We can just begin to overpower that pawn. And here I found an interesting little trick. White's play is looking absurd, and we can highlight it with knight takes h2. Idea being that we have a double attack against the rook and against a checkmate if the rook moves. Nice picturesque checkmate. So, how else can white go wrong? Okay, if knight g4, he's probably a little better off to play a king defensive move first to open up some more flight squares for his king in this arrangement. But here, even though black is down a pawn, he has a really good compensation and a real plan to play f5 and just attack the white position and have fun, because white is really disorganized. So I don't think bishop e3 is too much to worry about. And finally, what we're really hoping for is bishop g5. This early bishop move gets white in a world of trouble with the famous Legal's sacrifice, and followed by Legal's combination, which begins after knight takes e4, sacrificing the queen. But it's important to understand that this queen is poison. Always look for checks. Only move is to play king e2, and this is known as Legal's mate. He was a famous French player and the teacher of Philidor, I believe. Early great chess players from the 18th century. So bishop g5, once more, we play knight takes e4 with a double attack to either take his bishop with our knight or queen, or give a checkmate in 2 moves, as follows. If he takes our knight, we could take his bishop with a better position, but we can actually just win immediately. Here we have to keep an eye out for connections. The king is protecting the queen, so we can deflect the king from the defense of the queen. And as we've seen, this is going to win the game. Okay, so we've looked at a lot of possibilities in the Taylor Gambit, and we see that white has a few good plans with timely pushing of c3 and d4 to blunt the bishop on c5, and with cautious play, white can fend off the black attack and have a upper hand. But it's a good opening to practice with, because you're going to learn a lot of tactics and how to attack in chess. So it's a good opening for learning about the game and the thematic tactics of the Italian game. And that is, of course, pitting the bishop on c5 and looking to attack the weakest square on the board as soon as possible. I'm Carl Bohr with MyChessBrain.com.